You should try it.
Are we ready, Jason?
Go for it.
I will call the July 18th, Human Relations Committee meeting to order. Can I get a roll call? Do we need to do that or do we?
I'll take roll here. I can see everybody, so
Okay.
we're good.
And then I'll read the myth. And the myth, the purpose of the Bismarck Human Relations Committee is to create an atmosphere of inclusion, equality, and accessibility through education and outreach. To recognize a valuable value of a diverse community. Okay, can any public comment, Jason? I don't see anyone in the room here.
Nope.
Are we using Teams still or not?
Just to record, there is nobody participating on Teams. We just record the meeting and then we post it to the website for anybody that would like to see it after.
Okay, and then can I get approval of meeting minutes from the last meeting?
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Documents. Okay, HRC goals, a building committee recognition.
So public service announcements is your topic on here, and this kind of got punted at the last meeting. I don't think everybody was here, or I wasn't here for this part of the discussion. I was tied up in something else, so I have the draft. Sorry. Can't catch your eye here. Has anybody seen this? Do you have more to do with this? What do you want us to do with this? Get you into the recording studio?
That's the one I submitted.
Okay.
I think we should just roll. If anybody else is able to come up with one, or we can start with this and maybe it'll pick up an idea while we're in
Okay.
the studio, maybe talking to them. I think it would be good. This is just the general one, and that you're good. This is just the general one. I think it's been a minute. And then we could, once we finalize some stuff on the anniversary, we could roll a second one out with that info.
Okay.
With the event. But I feel like we should roll with one to get it going.
Is it possible for us to get a copy of that, or did you send it to us?
I will go make a copy for everybody right now.
I didn't know if I was able to or not.
Probably would have sent it away.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Somebody locked
You
it in.
shall not. Whitney, don't let him.
Watching here.
There's a message in there somewhere.
That's the reason we didn't talk about it is because you had the last few years.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
And my thoughts are, it's a generic, just general information that each one of us could record, so it's a different voice or a different personality and just a little, you can switch it up a little each time you do it, you know? I don't know, like, let's just get something moving.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, oh wait.
I'm gonna need you to not talk so loudly with your hands with her drink, unlit drink, like,
The magic.
there we go.
drink.
I just said, because I can see it, I'm in that line.
Nature mushroom elixir.
It's weird.
It's not just one, it's weird.
Who knows?
I don't know. That was really good idea. I can't eat your mushroom elixir.
It tastes like root beer gone
Oh
wrong.
my gosh, two voices for this.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. And that could even
We
be
went all in.
whether that's the person in the studio or if we want to go in in twos, you know what I mean? We could go in twos and then get two of them done at the same time and just flip flop.
Do we wanna try to create maybe a couple times when like a group could go in, like?
I can contact Mary Bensicle, Dakota Media Access, and see what works for them, because they'll need staff there, obviously, to do that. Typically, their office hours are 9 to 5. Are there, I don't want to speculate for this week or next week, but what would be better for this group? Do you want me to go to Mary and say, when are you available? Or do you want me to give her?
That's where she's
I
available.
think we should fill into what they.
Can we just have a meeting there and then do it afterwards?
That'll be
They're
a
only
month
open
out.
during the day.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
Just because of the predictability of meeting here every month is kind of what the public expects, not that we've got lots and lots of people here. But I think we try and avoid those satellite meetings whenever we can, so. I will ask Mary what works for them, and I'll ask her for like a series of dates and ranges, because everybody's got other things that keep them busy, so.
We're talking PSCs.
I will share that with the group when I hear from Mary, what works, and then you guys can figure out what time work best for you guys. I can't imagine it's gonna take more than 10 or 15 minutes to have everything set up. You go in, the radio studio's ready to go. They've got 3 microphones in there and shouldn't be that tricky. So
Where's it at?
their offices are on Front Avenue, and they are right on the corner of, yes, next door to the bistro. on the
I drove
corner.
by those other days.
The lessons in front. Yep.
That's a nice new office.
Yes, and it's accessible too, where their building over here was not, so.
You can actually get a wheelchair in there.
Yep. That was part of the reason they chose to move, was so the building was accessible, so. Okay, well, let me check with Mary, and then I'll just send everybody an email with some information and try and coordinate something to the best of everyone's ability. And if they record, if you guys record 3 or 4 of these messages and it's the same message, but it's different voices, that's totally okay. Because they'll cycle those into all the other PSAs that they've got, so.
And if only one of us can make it, you can make different voices.
Oh my gosh, we should all not show up just to see how many voices you can have. We need 2 days, one for the rest of us and one for Jason.
Yeah, that's like that thing where we could try to sign up and put 2 people in there, so.
Yeah.
You know, if she's expecting 2 people to come in and record.
Yep.
One instead of having 12 of us show up,
We
like
can-
that sign up genius or whatever, so yeah.
Right, it's part of the schedule, but so it's works for everybody. Okay,
Perfect.
Okay, and then diversity and university hosted events.
so the student art show, after the last meeting, I took the instruction from this group to contact Dr. Jason Hornbacher with the Bismarck Public School District. And just first and foremost, Dr. Hornbacher said, yep, we can help. But he needs some things from this group. Some decisions need to be made by this group so they can figure out how to program all of that stuff together. So it's the pedigree information, the who, what, where, when, and why. And what he suggested, just in chatting with him, Dr. Hornbacher suggested that first time out the door, this group might find it to be a little easier to work with the upper grade level students rather than trying to take on all 13 grade levels, because you get to that elementary section, you've got obviously a lot more teachers and students and things like that. So he suggested middle school, high school, obviously some type of theme would need to be identified. Let's see what else did I write here. One thing, I'll just read you my notes as we went through all of this. So he challenged me with a question. He said, so where are you planning on putting this up? And I said, well, loosely, we've talked about it in the past. Kirkwood Hall has been a place for student art shows. And he said, what if we displayed the artwork at public venues, like the Hughes Building, the Veterans Memorial Public Library, Parks and Rec venues, and have more exposure rather than just one place? He said, maybe even some of the artwork travels from different locations. And he also said, what if some of the artwork is for sale? These are all things for your consideration. He also said to connect with Brian Ritter, who's the executive director of the Bismarck Van Nant Chamber EDC. Have them get involved for more promotion and awareness. So he said, first, develop a concept, identify which students. BPS will help coordinate. BPS will promote. What are the art mediums? So these are decisions that this group will have to work through and talk through. And then I wrote, is there an event to sell the artwork and how could this work and who takes the money? Is it donations? These were just kind of spitball ideas.
I think we should just do donation.
I don't-
Are we allowed to take money out?
Well, that's, so that this, I understood it as if the artwork was sold, that money would go to the student, to the artist, not to this group, not to the city. It goes to the person that creates the artwork. And it's a opportunity for them to be reimbursed for something that they've done. Doesn't have to be that way. Other art shows are juried. You'll see blue ribbons and red ribbons and green ribbons hanging on people's things. If that's something you want to do, then these are the kind of the details that need to get worked through as you go along.
So I think it'd be a little crazy to work out the selling of the art pieces, especially if the artists are not there. I would be for though having people be judged, have juried. I mean, we all know different art. I know tons of artists with what I do in the community that would probably be willing. You know, Paul Newt. So I mean,
Just want to be there.
there you go.
Is there a way we could do like an online, like silent auction where they could bid for them?
I suppose you could.
Because that, I mean, that would probably be the easiest way to do something like that.
There isn't anything violating that with city policy or anything.
Not to my knowledge, but I'd sure run it through our city attorney to make sure we don't step in something we can't get off our shoes.
Pretty easy. Could we do where the students set up their own Cash App? And then there's just the Cash App thing right by it. And if they buy it, there goes the money to it.
Like Venmo or Vimeo.
Yep.
Yeah, they want to sell it.
If they want to
Student
sell it,
pays-
but the students set that up, then
Yeah.
it's our hands are off, Bismarck Public Schools is off. They can put their little Venmo info right there. Once it comes through, they mark it sold, or they can message us and then we can mark it sold, or whatever venue it's at. Then it's, you know, it brings it into today's day and age, and nobody's handling cash, and it goes straight to the student artist.
If you haven't reached the artist.
Yeah,
Then I would just do high schoolers.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
That was kind of my next thing, and this is just us kind of treading water and seeing how this works out. To let's do it as easy and as direct to them as possible.
I mean, we could even just have if it's available for sale, we could have that marked a different way and then just have the artist POC so that it's on that buyer and it's on that artist to do everything
Yeah.
sale wise. We're just giving them an opportunity to sell if they want to.
Right.
Because with it being the first one, I feel like if we add in even a Venmo app, like what if it gets swiped twice before we can get that sold on there? So if an artist is wanting to sell it, sale possible, contact here.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
We provide the venue, but
That would be the easiest, especially if
Yeah.
you get multiple locations.
Yeah.
So when are we looking to do this?
We had talked about the 20th anniversary being held on the weekend of October 22nd and 23rd. That was for the film. Do we want to run the art show from the 15th to the 22nd of October, the week before leading up to that? Because that'll get exposure at a bunch of different public venues. And that could also have information on the upcoming forum/movie documentary.
I know I have an event on the 15th, but I think it's that night.
And I don't even know if, you know, all of us would need to be there. A couple of us could show up at each, you know, throughout the week at each area, stop in and just do a little
We have agency
talking point,
pamphlets.
right?
Here you go.
Contact, you know, a radio station for one of the TV stations for another, and have each of us doing it throughout the week, you know, on different venues. That way, nobody's overwhelmed, we can kind of coordinate who's available when and where, and we just kind of plug into what we can. And kind of capitalize on it, it's a lot easier, some of us are free during the day, some of us are free in evenings.
If we have, and I'm limited knowledge of art shows, so if it is juried and, you know, judged, how would that work? So Janet, if they were moving locations, would there just be a certain time and like Wednesday is the day that
I go judge.
judge, yeah, or something? Is that kind of how you would see it?
I have to go all again. Yeah, I mean, we have to decide the mediums too. So I know we're looking for visual arts, and then was it like video too, right?
Yeah, they would need to figure out how to supply their own video training. They would need to do their own video outlet, and so that, you know, we can do that. I don't want us to try and take on the type of production or setting up art studio space. So we can find the venue, work with the site, and then the artist will need to create. So
And
the
creative writing?
easiest. Were we staying away from creative writing this time or no?
I think you, I know that as an option, maybe, I don't know.
I thought we wanted to be inclusive to all media.
Definitely.
I think that's definitely jury or judging it, the more challenging it might be.
Let's do,
But you could do it in categories.
so if you creative writing in one category, art, visual arts in one category, and media in another category.
Okay.
Are there any other City of Bismarck activities going on that week?
Oh, boy. October is
Top of your head.
Fire Prevention and Preparedness Month, so quite likely our firefighters and fire department will be out doing all of their show and tell at the elementary schools, and stop, drop, and roll, and a lot of that. Other things that happen in October, that might be it.
They still do red ribbon. I know the National Guard does the red ribbon week. I don't know if that's done in public school or anything anymore. So
Probably not
now.
high school, but the elementary school.
Okay.
Oh, they dress up things.
We're talking about the multicultural fest. You haven't selected the date for that yet, so we meet next week. That could end up near October.
Just a thought for the theme.
No.
We
That's awesome.
we just went through the whole hate crime ordinance issue, and there was a lot of community speech about it and community input. They, at the end, Commissioner Marquardt had stopped me and pulled me aside, and we were chatting about, you know, maybe it's time we start having more public conversations about this. And so could this be a great opportunity for the Bismarck Human Relations Committee to make the art show theme about diversity in our community, and then try and pull together some kind of open forum and documentary on diversity or hate in our community? Is that pushing it too much, or is that creating an opportunity for conversations to be held? City admin, what do we?
If we push it too far, what are they gonna do to us?
Right,
Show next
this
year.
is literally the point of our,
And you get fired from a volunteer position.
I mean, part of our thing talks about inclusion and equality.
well, and then in our
So that's,
strategic plan for this is to hold our elected officials accountable for representation in our community. I don't know, it's a lot to take on. It's a pretty easy diversity in our community and finding a documentary and then having one or two speakers at on Saturday at the Heritage Center, as well as inviting the city commission to come and partake in it,
I think it would be easy to do any of these art meetings when comes to diversity.
right? It leaves it fully in the hands of the student. How do you view diversity?
High
in our
schoolers
community?
should have a inkling of what that means.
Yeah.
So we're not putting this towards elementary students or anything.
Right,
So, and that's something that's important to discuss as far as that age group too.
yeah.
I think it'd be perfect, in my opinion.
any thoughts against it, because we're all in this together, so.
I think we're all in this. Maybe we want to push as hard as, push as far as we think we can. Because I think that's the only way people may have a bigger conversation about it then.
In my mind, we're literally doing what they're asking us to do. So at the meeting, all of them said, we feel like we haven't discussed this enough. And that was echoed over and over from the commissioners who voted against the hate crime ordinance, which is understandable if they don't feel like we've talked about it enough. Let's provide a forum where they can come and partake, as well as interact with the community.
We could tie some of them into Culture Fest too,
Yeah.
which is September 16th, 17th. Which will be bringing in the fire departments, police departments, those as forums. So that could be a possibility to have some of those discussions too.
Could we partner with you guys on the Culture Fest then?
Yeah.
My only thing on the, like, I love diversity, but I also think the word inclusion is extremely important in there, especially if we're kind of trying to maybe make a point, because if you're not being inclusive, you are being exclusive. And I think so if we did diversity and inclusion in the community, maybe. Because I think too, like if someone is feeling excluded for whatever reason, we could also get some very powerful pieces on what, yes, on what, like what not being included. So I would just recommend we add the word inclusion in there.
So, even along like those lines, do we want to just pull pieces to align it to our mission? So we can have diversity, but like, how do you celebrate, or what does inclusion, equity, and access mean to you? You know, ask a question like that will align to the mission.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
That gives them a little more understanding, or a little more. What words? I can't talk, it's Monday. It's bad. Then leave it up. I'm done. There we go.
I feel like you're knocked out.
I feel like I'm not even.
So then where do we go from here? We have our answers as far as when we want it, what group of students, the mediums we want it, what we want for a theme. So then where do we go from here, Jason?
So then I would take all of that information back to Dr. Hornbacher, and then he said from there, he will open some doors to people within VPS to really get these conversations and start to put some bookends around it. So
Do we know where?
I think the locations you had mentioned, and even,
Throughout the city.
yeah,
Well, yes.
do we want to limit it to like 3 to 4?
Yeah, I
So
wouldn't
two
go-
spread out,
Yeah,
2 to 3, 3 to 4, what do we think?
3 to 4.
I think it's kind of dependent on how many art pieces we get too.
True.
what if you had,
3 to 4.
so what I heard you say was the week of October 16th through the 22nd, just tentatively.
Mhm.
So what if you had a single point advertised space to say, here's where you'll find everything? And I don't, I guess maybe questions that go along with that is, what is the expected number of pieces? Are we gonna fill them all, or are we gonna fill a small office? These are things that I think the artists,
I
the
think if a lot of
faculty at
things go
VPS,
through, depends who you pull in.
right, and a question I would have for an art instructor would be, is this mandatory? Does this become part of your curriculum? So all students are required to submit at least something, or is it voluntary? So somebody that's got a whole bunch of stuff just lying around can say, here, I want to put this up.
My concern about if we say it's mandatory for our students and we're talking about diversity and inclusion, are we just gonna kick up another storm?
Yeah,
There's no way where we could make it mandatory in our curriculum. Like,
It doesn't become part of the graded material.
it has
I
to go
would
through a
think you-
process.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say, you
would
might
think
not.
you
come
could
this
say
time.
it's, you have to do something, whether you choose to submit it is on you. So it is a required piece of art you have to create. Whether you choose to submit it for this is
are
up to the artists.
I hesitant that we're dictating to the public school.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
So what I think how it's probably gonna go is that like when Jason opens the door, what he'll probably do is reach out to the art teachers. And then once we have like a flyer and all those pieces, then we can start not only for the art teachers, but then to other classrooms, and it'll be something that's promoted throughout BPS. With the aligned vision that we have, and then we'll have like a date of submissions, and then like a date that we probably do. What I'm hearing is probably like a single point where we reveal, if we're doing a jury, we would reveal that. Kind of like a, I mean, typically, like, why did she use it, you know what I mean? And then that's where, you know, all those other pieces can be. And then this show could go on the road, you know, like then we can, you know, we could put pieces up at, you know, Toast Fry or other venues and pieces like that. So we should have a single unveiling of who's placed and maybe who's gotten honorable mentions.
So you could have the awarded ones do the travel.
Yep, yep, absolutely. You know, all those pieces we can kind of dig through.
Okay.
I'm actually meeting with a legacy teacher next week who reached out to me for volunteering, and I'll just ask her what she thinks. It's a legacy art teacher that just,
Is it real?
I can't remember, she just emailed me, there's 2 teachers that emailed me out of the blue, so that sounds right though, yeah. That does sound right.
So that's kind of our.
This is exciting, you guys.
Yeah.
I know, I'm super excited about this.
So we have 3 months.
Go.
We're starting to chop at the bit. So the next would be the film, right?
Yes.
Are you done talking about the art show?
Yeah, wait, yes, I think so.
Do you have everything you need from us to be done
Right.
talking about the art show?
Everyone has to reach out.
So, what we kind of talked about is, as far as locations, kind of like what you had mentioned, we should do, if we're gonna do a jury, we should do a single point where we have like an unveiling, and then we'd have like, just kind of like hors d'oeuvres, and then all the art would be at one location, and then from there, like, you could do a traveling exhibit where they would go to, you know, different locations, and then if students want to sell them, that would be at their discretion.
So then
If
do
you
we
spend
want to
them
do
all
the
as the
kickoff?
initial one.
But we could do the kickoff wherever we're having the movie, and then you would come to, draw people into the movie.
The Heritage Center is booked the weekend that you were hoping to be there. As the backup, and we can let it go, but we booked meeting room A at the library, which is a large meeting room in the basement. And we told them what we were doing and they said, yep, we can facilitate that. If that works for this group, we could certainly have that. I think other,
Depends on how many students you have.
yeah, the other thing you guys had mentioned at the last meeting was potentially having the film at the hub or the Dream Center. And I would offer as another suggestion, the Sidney J. Lee Auditorium at BSC is a pretty comfortable space for
Oh, that would,
about
That's
200
actually
people.
a good one.
That would be,
I would say that would probably be the best.
then you've got a stage, you've got,
Yeah.
I'm assuming a projector and other
Yeah.
things. So
On a stage, but they're expensive.
Yeah.
Dakota stage, yeah, I don't think we've got the budget for that one.
It's like 400, I think.
What if you partner with the BSC diversity team? Maybe they'll just
Who's
leave
on
it.
that?
That would be me.
That would be
Maybe.
me.
You can ask for a waive.
I love I think we should really push for BSC because if we bring them in, so I like that idea. The cool thing about, I was looking through like past annual, what is it that you're working on, the annual review or
Then you report.
They've done a bunch of, or in the past, not a bunch, but they had teamed up with a lot of different organizations and put on things like this. So I think if we could pull in some other groups and utilize that BSC, stop listening to me. The BSC diversity would be really good to pull in. And that would be, you know, a few months after the school starts and we could even pull in,
And if for any reason that date is not available, we could also check RJV Armory. They've got a really nice theater. We probably wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, they have the projection and all of that, so it'd be like sitting in a movie theater. I don't know if we'd be able to rent out the gym floor for art or anything, but for a showing, that would be a possibility as well.
But if we had the art showing up as before the movie, and then it went on the road, or at the end, they would all be in one place. That way we might be able to draw in all of those families for the film too.
right? Do we all get to go out on the road with it like a Bond film?
For sure.
And then we're going someplace fun.
Yeah.
If we're out there, it's gonna be fun. films on diversity or hate.
Like within, are you want to be specific to Bismarck or, cause I just heard about one called The Color of Care. I haven't watched it yet. It was put out by Oprah Winfrey. And it talks about how COVID really brought to light the discrepancies of care, medical care provided to people of color across the country.
In my mind, the only hesitation I see with that is cost of showing. In my mind, like looking at who's some local film, it's Cincinnati, and way off base right now.
Samuel,
Yeah,
Cincinnati.
that's right, isn't it? Seeing like if there's
Oh, I
some
know
local
his- I
film
think I know his girlfriend.
that have done something along it, or even reaching out to our local film festivals in Fargo, Bismarck, you know.
I had asked Mary Van Sickle at Dakota Media Access if any films came to mind, because they've got literally hundreds of submissions prior to their April film festival. So between December and April, they watched dozens and dozens and dozens of films. I had asked Mary if any of them kind of stood out. She said, give me some time, I'll go back and offer some suggestions. Some of those films are 5 or 6 minutes, some of them are 10 to 15 minutes. You could have a series of them.
Right? Or we could have a film start, or, you know, have a film start and then have a discussion, do another film, invite up the city commission,
Yeah.
do another film,
It
and
works
the
really well.
commissioners and a few other people up there, you know?
Belkovich, I can't pronounce his name.
Shane Balkovich?
There's a film on him
Is there?
in Fargo, and he actually did a website for my daughter. And his daughter used to dance with my daughter dance, but they have his, and he's talked in Fargo before when they played it. But it's about him, but it's about like very diverse people, because he's
Sure.
played very, very diverse people.
Mhm.
Yeah, we partnered with the film festival last fall, and did the same thing. We had a forum with, different refugees, went up and talked and had everything before that. They have a few of them out there. I think that would be very good.
And then I was researching this weekend, but there's film festivals that I'd never heard of. Like there's one in Fargo called the North Dakota Human Rights Film Festival.
Yep.
And maybe they have some that they've done before that they haven't used. November is when that is. And then there's an Environmental Rights Film Festival too. But I think Shane would probably come talk if we did do that film.
I get to be
We literally have to separate the two. Nicole, could you go?
Say something, but I'm like, yeah.
Then we would know who the problem is.
We know who the problem is. There's no question.
Okay, so finding films, we can do that. Once we find the films, then do we look at the speakers? That we
So
want
just
to
otherwise
involve?
they don't
Yeah,
know
you would.
speakers. We
With
don't
the cart before ours. Cause in my mind, I was like, you know, it's our 20th anniversary celebration. If we look at past recipients of the Humanitarian of the Year award, would we be able to plug some of them in as forum speakers
Love.
on diversity, inviting people back, as well as inviting past board members or committee members and getting them involved, because a ton of them have moved on to lots of work in our community. So kind of drawing this all together. Not that we would ask them to speak, but I think highlighting any of the Humanitarian of the Year award recipients that we could would be a good way.
Right?
Do you think maybe next month we could, should they have a list somewhere of the past recipients, and then we could have a list of movies and see what kind of cross-reference everything we would have.
How long of time are we wanting this event?
4.5 hours.
And you sit, you will not get to leave. It'll be like me watching Maverick.
There has some entertainment.
Hour, 2
Yeah,
hours.
2 hours.
Just want to put it out there, and most likely in Omaha, so just so my absence is noted up front.
We'll excuse you this time. We'll live stream.
I'll be right there out there
Just do it virtually. Everybody does it.
We'll get you a GoPro, and then that way you can just wear it and run and talk.
Okay.
Heidi has a little camera. We can put out that.
Oh, I've got got more cameras than we know where to go.
You'll be there.
So who's gonna contact BSC?
We can do that. What date?
That Saturday, right?
It's
That's the
possible.
15th of October, I think,
Next weekend.
the 22nd.
Should we look at a couple different dates, 15th, 22nd, and 29th, just to keep it fluid?
I'll be in town on the 29th. Just put it
Eighth,
out there.
15th, and
We can
22nd,
get you to go
because
first.
the 29th is gonna be Halloween
Halloween
weekend.
weekend.
Yeah, actually, I'm talking to business.
So
See,
maybe
there you go. Then too.
8th, 15th.
See, I would be like, I
22nd.
don't know.
We have an event
Where
that
I'm going,
you
there's
can't
somebody.
do.
And for some reason, I'm down the eighth too, I don't know why, because I know I can't be there for that.
Okay,
So I know we have the 15th, 22nd.
I would say there's a lot of community events on the like carnivals and stuff
So
like that.
I know the 22nd or 29th.
15th, 22nd.
There's nothing going on in
29th.
October.
15 or 22nd.
So we'll cross out 8th. Oh, wait, you said you're gone the 15th.
No, I have an event that night.
On the 15th?
Yeah.
Okay. Or can you pivot from a morning?
If it, I think the priority, like, because I would love to be there too, so but the priority, I think if we could get BSC, if they say we can't do the 15th, has to be the 22nd, I think the priority should be BSC, and then we make it work.
Maybe do the 22nd, the 29th, and third choice would be the 15th.
And I would do the 20, well, if we're done early enough, but that Halloween weekend
Yeah.
with Halloween, there's gonna be a lot of stuff going on, I feel like, the 29th and the 30th in the community.
Well, honestly, all of October is Halloween and.
Thank you.
That's
I
actually
support
true.
that.
There's a lot of Halloween.
All right.
I mean, if we have it midnight, we're gonna be tiptoeing on somebody's Halloween event.
Also youth engagement and then municipal
That's true.
quality index reading.
I don't know if we're through with this one. Are we done with this one yet? Because the film thing is, getting- so we have like crunch time for this selection of these films, I think. So I think we need to, that needs to be a priority. Next thing we need to figure out.
Could we get a list of past recipients?
I can.
And then,
You got it.
okay, and then if we can get a list of movies, then we can kind of go through them and see if there's any nice connections.
I'm like, can you time it? Anybody else?
I'm a smoker, but I've been eating mushroom drink.
Yeah, just did it.
Yeah, okay, well, that's it. Very good. They have to find that.
So while he's looking for, just to pivot slightly, Geraldine, I just wanted to tell you guys how much she has expressed gratitude for that award. I mean, she has messaged me, honestly, she's so appreciative of it, so.
She was at the International History Day, running around telling people. Appreciative, she was.
Love it. I ran into her at the Capitol.
She really does.
The last 10 years or so.
Did they just start it kind of in 2009?
Ooh, I'd have to dig in to our paperwork and go back that far. I wasn't part of any of that until 3 years ago. So I honestly don't recognize some of those names.
Do we know why
They're all nonprofit.
some have links, but the most recent don't? Look at me, MP now.
You are.
Cause someone forgot to hyperlink it, Jason. That's why.
It's there.
Did we have news releases for the most?
Yeah,
one?
we should.
Okay.
So if Whitney's listening, we can take a look at that tomorrow.
Sorry, Whitney, I'm sorry, don't hate me.
Whitney's thinking of death. Never wished ill on anyone, but she's wishing ill on you now.
We've got to update, add the two from this year as well, so.
Malkovich is available on Prime Video, so it shouldn't be that hard to get.
Okay.
To do that.
Yeah, watch it before next time.
I have Prime Video, so I don't know.
What group
I am
has
pretty into
done the
Marvel.
most work with Shane? That we could go,
I can talk to his, I know his wife well.
I I remember all the work we've done together. Would you be interested in?
Paying us back, returning the favor.
Partnering with a local,
He's done a lot with.
well-funded.
My daughter did a website because she was a pageant. While she did the website, but he's done a lot.
Really?
And I don't know how controversial the film is either, because I don't know if it has to dabble or not, but. Could be a lot.
Well, now I'm gonna go watch
I'll watch it.
I'll probably watch it tonight. That is a. I'm turning off my Maisel to watch this.
I don't think that's a short film, if we're looking for a short one though. I think it's.
We could do snippets.
The overdraft. People can sit for 90 minutes and watch it.
Watch it. It's 3 hours, so.
It was?
What?
Oh,
Maverick was like.
Oh.
Look at the pudding.
I watched Gone with the Wind in the movie theater years ago, so I can sit through it.
Are we golden?
And everything else. Guess who's gonna contact
I will,
BSC?
so one of us in this office will get a hold of BSC and ask about any Saturdays in October. With a preference being the 15th or 22nd or the 29th. Okay. And if that doesn't work, then the library is still booked for the 22nd, I believe was the date that we had set there. Unless there's another, some of the schools have auditoriums too. Middle schools.
Legacy has a pretty good one.
You just have to rent it through the school. I can't remember how much it is.
Sibley's got
Where
one,
was
Horizon's got
the-
the cafeteria,
Refugee County Conversation at
that was at Horizon.
Horizon. Let's look at that one too, if BSC is booked, because that was a big enough one.
I think Legacy is more seating.
Is it? Okay, I've never been in
And
Legacy.
VHS is a brand new auditorium as well.
We had, over 250 middle school students at Horizon. For some.
Yeah, let's look at high schools. I like keeping it within the city. Wow, Jason, that came out so right. I did
I
not
don't want
watch
to go to
it.
man, man.
We don't have to look at it.
I gotta read that one.
You know where the Starlight Twin on the. That make this a drive-in?
That would be so much fun.
I almost want to. Anyway, I'll have a conversation.
I'll go have some with you.
Trevor, let's move on before Jason starts talking.
Okay, I'll look this youth engagement and the index rating, where is that?
Where is that?
I think the youth one was just what we already talked about. Art show, right?
Yep.
So.
Is it just general youth engagement or what is that about?
Yeah,
That's one of the goals of the HRC is to engage youth in the community and to find different ways to partner and get them involved. This group has tried a number of things over the years. Probably the most recent example of success was, well, prior to COVID, when students at Legacy helped with the cultural dinner. So each year there was a different culture that was highlighted. Students learned from someone within that culture, the significance of the food and why it was done and how to prepare it. And then they hosted a meal where tickets were sold and then all the ticket prices went to cover their costs. Since COVID, the instructor that led that effort at Legacy has been preferring not to bring a bunch of strangers into school and all of those things. So this group has looked for different ways to try and engage the youth. And the art show is kind of a result of that conversation over several months.
Can we, well, I have, do you think we could reach out again about the cultural dinner or not?
We could try again in the fall. Historically, it was in November that the event was
Yeah.
held, so.
I would say if we're probably do it some spring, for
yeah.
fall heavy.
Yeah,
One thing that went over really well that we're trying to look into doing where the schools just look global neighbors is we did the Who's My Neighbor with Horizon with the middle school students. And we had 6 different refugees come in and share their stories. And I did a rotation. The schools really liked that. We had other schools reach out saying they wanted to have that participate too. So that's like a lot of planning or prepping and putting into it. But it was about 4 hours worth of like, so the students, there'd be like 20, 30 in a room and they listen to one refugee for 20 minutes and then they rotate to 6 different others. But the staff really like that.
So then the individual tells their story multiple times to different
6
groups.
times, yeah.
Forget what I was gonna say.
The first group would have to come back, because I would be much better after the second time. That would be the first time. That's how our safety meetings go at least.
It's something like along those lines that I've seen that I thought in other cities is essentially like a human library. Where, you know, it'd be very similar to that, but we could somehow in the spring find an outdoor space, target youth. And literally you just sit down, it's kind of like speed dating, but only you sit down and it's like, I tell you my story, whether that's why I enlisted in the military or where my family came from, and you just kind of sit and learn about each other.
Why I make rhubarb custard.
And then bring it.
You know, but that might be something kind of cool to in the spring to look into. And then just make sure that it would be on us to make sure we're getting a diverse population there, you know, but anyone sits down, I'd have to sit and listen to Jason's story, or, you know, like.
I don't get to the middle of it.
I don't
It's
want
our
to call it
speaker bands.
But a lot of times they have like a theme, you know, so like the theme of it, where I've seen it done before, it's a monthly event. I've always wanted to do it, I just haven't been able to execute it.
I brought it up before and I really like.
I think it's just a really cool
Yeah.
thing. So that might be something outdoors.
how about the index rating here, let's move on.
Real quick, you should mention to Jason, you know, if with the art piece, like, could we have a component where like kids come to our meeting or some piece to get them engaged a little bit more? And we could just piggyback it onto the art.
Have the kids come to that Saturday thing?
Well, they could come to our meeting, other ways to get involved. I mean,
Like this
students,
meeting?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, students are really trying to pad their resume for college too, so that would
It's
be.
a great idea.
Use that for.
I don't want to get rid of
It's to draw them in and then they're gonna love the work, they're
Oh
gonna love
my gosh, I love everybody in the committee.
We're gonna have to give somebody here a script.
us.
The PSA, he's gonna have to remember.
Yeah. Well, I'll have our own little way. Okay, so this is what I
Isn't
did.
it interesting?
Just make sure Jason's gone.
Hey, I'm right here.
So Sassy, when does school begin?
School begins August
25th,
I'm gonna do duty like that.
It's on a Thursday?
something like
Usually
that.
a Thursday, Friday,
Yeah.
and it starts next week.
Yes,
You gotta ease them in, yeah, ease them in a little bit.
Yes, these
2
are
days.
23rd.
Yeah.
It's probably for the teachers more than it.
It's for everyone, that's for sure. Yeah.
So they're starting later than.
That's
Cause
about
I-
the time.
That's normal.
That's been pretty.
That's usually when they start.
Just before Labor Day.
It's usually a week or two.
Because I get a long vacation for them, for the teachers, for sure.
No comment.
All right, Jason, any updates on the MEA?
Jason, any updates on it?
No, after that score we got the first time, I guess I was a little put out by the whole thing since I would put in all that effort and energy and then we ended up with the same score we had before. I just wanted to ask why? What did we do wrong that didn't bolster that score of 63? And trying to engage with that group it's hard. They don't respond to emails for months at a time. There's never a phone number to get to. You don't know who you're talking to. Excuse me, did you have a chance to reach out to Brandy?
I have not discussed it with Brandy yet. I can bring it to Brandy because she's actually now our Mountain Regional
Okay,
Director, and so I'll see if she can find out what's going on. In my mind, I feel like we had the conversation with them, and then another person sent out the email before they discussed.
that's kind of how.
And so they like regurgitated the score we had from the previous year without even knowing that we had submitted so much stuff and discussion. I could just lose breath. And so I feel like if we can get some kind of conversation, I don't know, if that's literally that they just were like, oh, okay, great combo, but here's your score again, I'm gonna be frustrated. Because there should be some traction, even if it's like, what are those? The extra 2-point things. You know what I mean, Jason?
Right,
The what? That free throw. They're like subsidiary points. I cannot function today. So they have like a category and then like bonus
Yeah.
points. If you can do like things that aren't as difficult, like speaking.
So, but I would reach out to Brandy too.
Okay, I'll reach out to Brandy and
you can check in with Randy. I'll try and follow up with that gentleman that we spoke to in Washington DC.
Okay.
Spoke with, I've forgotten his name all of a sudden, was it Colton or something like that?
Yeah, I might try and loop all of us into an
Okay.
email and kind of put Brandy at the head and then Brandy and the person in DC and then CC you in it.
Sure,
Would that work?
So is our score basically what it
Literally
is
the
now?
same.
No, but like,
Oh,
can it change it? or
it was
does
still in
matter?
draft
right.
last we saw.
And in
So-
July, it's July. I don't know why this
I'm
is.
going to my time on my watch.
In July, y'all have been with road all day. July, I think, is when they're looking at like starting to,
Do like final.
yes, so,
Do it now.
yeah.
And wasn't that one of the things, Jason, Tomonitz, that you said, even for like putting your name as a contact on our website, that could give us 10 points or something?
So there was some high score thing, yeah. That was what we learned after speaking with the gentleman that was in their DC office. So,
Does it have to be easily findable?
well, it would be, we would put it on the pages with the HRC information. So it would be there. That would, where it would be appropriate.
Would you
Yeah.
picture?
I don't have any pictures.
You
We'll
will
find one,
now.
we'll find one.
I've
Yeah,
got.
we are pretty sensitive, if we need a hug up.
I know, Mr. Bismarck, we sure know where to find some readily available ones.
We had a chance to do headshots in this office a couple of years ago and I respectfully passed. So,
I think for you, I've still got all my public affairs gear, so.
She's got a bunch of cameras or something.
Yeah, she has that.
That's
Good
kind
camera.
of where
It's not gonna be
we're
there.
at with MEI then. So let me remind myself with a reminder tomorrow.
I'll text you tomorrow.
Thank you. I'm meeting with
I know where you said I could find it.
Randy, right? MEI. Okay.
I know she's busy.
She likes to slow. She watches the city commissioner meeting, so. She knows what we're doing.
I'm talking Brandy.
Party.
Yes.
Oh. I actually.
Any
I
other
think I'm on a
business?
call with her next
I
week.
do.
How much money do you
I'll
want to
make-
spend?
No, I'd like to know, did we ever hear about any movement with our budget?
we're midstream right now with the budget. I have to check in with the finance director to see where we landed. So the budget will go to the city commission at the next meeting with the public hearing scheduled for first meeting in August, if I'm not mistaken.
Would it be good for one of us to be there?
It's not necessary.
So I guess I would ask if the committee is in agreement, that if they have any pushback on increasing our budget, could we politely remind them that we haven't had an increase since we were in the
Forever.
inception?
Yeah.
And that every other committee in the city has had an increase throughout the years. And this is the first time we've ever even asked.
Yeah,
More.
Have you seen any pushback, Jason, so far?
not necessarily, but don't know that we spend an exhaustive amount of time looking at it either, so. But even adding $500 to this group's budget would be a significant increase over where we're at, but in the grand scheme of a $300 million annual city budget, we just spent $500 talking about it as an organization, so.
Maybe if they had any pushback to remind them that they're asking for more information on the hate crime ordinance.
Yes.
And so we can get that information to them, but we have to be able to fund it somehow.
Maybe avoid the one to the ground.
You know, what we
Yeah.
have,
More conversation about it.
Just an increase in general,
okay,
so,
We can shoot higher.
yeah, we could say double,
that's what I was hoping.
yeah. I'll get a hold of the finance director tomorrow and see where we're at.
Okay. That was all. I just like to stay on that. 'Cause-
Jason, can you send me, I think I asked you this last time, pictures from the 2019 of the year, things that the city.
Didn't we send you those?
Mhm.
Oh, I had it in my notes, I thought. Okay, sorry.
Like lost in the second picture.
So,
Kind of like.
Jason, I have another question as far as, is the mayor our portfolio holder for this committee?
I would have to look at the list, I believe so. Should be, because it's typically been with the mayor. The new mayor is doing his very best to hit his stride. He's actually setting office hours. So he's here Tuesday mornings from 7:30 to 9, and he's here again on Thursday afternoons from 3:30 to 5 generally, and he's engaged, no question about it. So I think as time allows, he will do his very best to immerse himself in as many things as possible. I suspect if we mentioned to him that this would be a group that we wouldn't mind seeing his face here once in a while, I'm guessing that would be okay too.
Friends with his wife.
7:30 to 9.
They don't come
Yep.
on sure.
Hey, okay, so there-
Yep, for now, that's been the plan. So when I got in last week Tuesday, I was here at 7:30 and I had already got an email from him at 7:22. He was in the office that early, so.
So does he just, do they always have office hours and
Nope.
stuff?
This is the first time that I've seen a mayor that's had office hours. Otherwise, they've been kind of come and go as they're able. But having some reliable time in the saddle will be a nice opportunity for us as staff and general citizenry too, if he wants to make appointments and things like that. I don't know if we got the business cards printed yet or not, but the mayor requested a city issued cell phone and he has that number printed on his business cards. So accessible considering where we've been.
Very good.
I have his office hours in my phone.
Here's like all the
You need to get
maintenance.
Oh, the city got him a cell phone and all.
Yeah, he requested a city issued phone to make sure that his site, his business, his primary business is completely isolated from any city business.
That's smart.
Yep, he's got clients and customers and all sorts of things that don't need to be affiliated with the work that he's doing as mayor. So it's totally appropriate.
You want me to make a motion to,
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, the next meeting is August 15th.
Thanks for your work.
Thank you.
Nice.
Have a great evening, everybody.